my husband and I tried to have a baby for 3.5 years. And that sounds kind of fun, you know, making a baby because of sex, you know. And it was at first, but then the months went by, and then the years went by, and we tried and failed, and it was heartbreaking. So I was really happy to put that chapter behind us when we decided to look into adoption. And actually, I had wanted to adopt before then, but it just seemed really hard. I had heard lots of stories about failed adoptions and about, you know, the competition for adopting in the United States, and I just wasn't ready for that. But we decided that we were going to do a lot of research, and I found out that domestic adoption is very competitive, and ultimately a birth mother would need to choose us. And with the horrible luck that I had had for the last 3.5 years, I just didn't think that was going to happen. So we decided to adopt internationally, and we picked Russia. So I didn't realize how hard it was going to be to put together all of the paperwork. They said, oh, there's lots of paperwork, and I thought, paperwork isn't hard. Well, when it includes being evaluated by a social worker, a medical doctor, a psychiatrist, and collecting their reports, and then we had to have a financial background check, a criminal background check, and letters of recommendation. I was feeling highly scrutinized. And I was starting to wonder, well, okay, Mother Nature had already said that I wasn't worthy to be a mom. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I don't deserve a child. I was feeling really overwhelmed. But I gathered my courage and gathered all those documents, and I put them in a huge box. It took about 3 months to do all this, and I put them in a big box, and it was so heavy I decided to weigh it. And it weighed 8 pounds. And I thought, that's my baby right there. And in a way it was. So I, wrapped that thing up and put it in, registered FedEx, don't lose this. And it got to the adoption agency that was going to handle our Russian adoption. And now they told us from the time they received the documentation to when we would have a child in our home would be about a year. And it would involve going to Russia and being matched with the child and meeting the child in the Russian courts, and very complicated, but I was trying to take it one step at a time. And at this point, we could hope a little. Oh, and we would get about a 2-year-old child was what we were expecting. But at this point, I felt a little hopeful, and I was able to celebrate and tell our friends that we were pregnant on paper. And we spread the word. Hey, we've had a lot of bad luck, but now this really could happen. So one of the friends that we told about this, a couple months later, called my husband out of the blue, and ironically it was on Father's Day weekend, and it was in the backyard of my parents-in-law's house, and he picks up the phone. We haven't heard from this guy in a long time. He picked up the phone, and he's like, hey, can I help you? I'm like, what's going on? Oh, what? He said, it's Dave. He has a niece who's pregnant and doesn't know what to do. She's thinking about placing the child for adoption. I'm like, what? She wants to meet with us. I'm like, yes! So we made the arrangements, and we sat down at a Panera, and Dave introduced us to Marie, who was very pregnant. She was due in 2 months, and she didn't know what to do. She knew she couldn't keep the child, and she didn't know who to talk to. So she sat down with us, and we brought a little booklet of pictures, and we were like, here's us with our family, and here's us with a dog. Don't we look nice? Here's us with our nieces. Kids like us, So after about 20 minutes or so, she said, yeah, I pick you guys. Like, out of the blue. I was stunned. So at this point, I called the Russian adoption agency and said, can we put that on hold for just a minute, please? Because in a couple of months, we were going to know one way or the other. But I was thinking, oh my God, this means we wouldn't have to fly to Russia, we wouldn't have to deal with all of the crazy bureaucracy, and this voice of hope was going, this is it! And my voice of reason was going, shut up! You don't know what you're talking about, just calm down. So I had nothing in the house for babies. We were expecting a 2-year-old in a year, or I guess 9 months at that point, and we had nothing. So I called up one of my best friends, Sarah. She had some kids, and she took me on this trip to Babies R Us. And we got some onesies and some little tiny diapers and a place to lay the baby, but I didn't want to get too much because we didn't know if it was going to fall through or not. Just because Marie said she would like us to be the parents of her child, it wasn't a contract. In fact, that can't be done officially until 10 days after the adoption is when she signs over the official papers. So at this point, it was just an idea, and I respected that. And I was afraid, but hopeful. Now, one thing Marie said is that I could be there at the birth. And it turns out that she wasn't 2 months away from giving birth. She was 6 weeks. So I got another call. 10 o'clock on a Thursday night, I was watching Project Runway. Had my feet up. Phone call. She's going into labor. Ah, labor? Now my husband, Dan, is out of town in California. So I'm gathering all my stuff and my video camera and whatever stuff I need. And I called him and was like, oh, the baby's on the way. So he figures out his travel plans. I drive to Woodbridge. Now, thank God it was 10 at night, or it would have taken me forever to get there. I never would have seen the births. The child would be like 10 years old by the time I got there. But I zipped there. There was plenty of time. And so I'm in the delivery room, and I wanted to videotape the birth. Now, I was up at Marie's shoulder, not the other end, because no. So that's a bit much, especially for video. Come on. So I'm videotaping, and she's doing her thing, and her aunt is there to hold her hand and take care of that. And I'm just being supportive, and here she gives birth to this baby. I mean, she's there, and they put this beautiful, gorgeous baby girl on Marie's stomach. And the nurse next to me says, "Hey, would you like to cut the cord?" I got the symbolism. I understood what this was all about. I said, yeah. So she took the camera and I cut the cord, and I'm feeling a little floaty at this point because, woo, this could be my baby here. And so they took the baby to clean her up, and then they handed her to me, and man, a brand newborn. She was heavy, but light. Oh my God, and she was so alive. She's right there, and I said to her, I'm so glad you're here. Because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to be her mom forever, but I didn't care. Did I deserve her? Who cares? I was going to be what she deserved. I was going to be the best mom I could be for as long as she needed me. And so she spent the night, and Dan flew in from California, and the next morning, we came and picked her up. And when we said goodbye to Marie, everybody cried. But we put this gorgeous baby, who we named Roxanne Marie, in our car when we brought her home. And then 10 days later, not far from where I'm standing right now, a few blocks down there, I went to the courthouse, and we signed all the papers, and she became my forever daughter. And for the last 8.5 years, I've been doing everything I can to be what she deserves. Thank you.